We have multiple solar storms on their way to Earth in time for the holidays, and a far-sighted blast leaves us in awe. Those stories and more in the news this week. If you want to learn how weather from our star causes impacts at the Earth that shape the future of our world, join Professors Dr. Jenny Meehan, Michael Cook, and myself as we guide you through a space weather certificate program like no other. To enroll in the Space Weather and Environment Science program offered at Millersville University, go to millersville.edu/SWEN. It's weather for the 21st century. This forecast also sponsored in part by CW Ops. Space weather this week is picking up in a big way. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, it's all about solar storm launches, both on the Earth-facing disk and also on the sun's far side, and they seem to be triggering one another. Like this little prominence right here, as you watch it just gently erupt right off the disk like that, that seems to trigger the filament right here near region 3907. Watch it go whoosh. That actually looks like that could have been a solar storm that was headed partially towards Earth. But when we take a look at coronagraphs, you can see the signature. This isn't quite enough of a halo, so that means this structure is likely going to miss Earth to the south. Well, that's not going to bring us any holiday cheer, but that's not the only story. As we take a look at the east limb, you'll see region 3910, pow, right there. It's announcing its appearance in Earth view. This thing fires a near X-class flare, and it gives us a near R3 radio blackout over the Indian Ocean and Africa. It also launches a solar storm to the east of Earth, but we are going to be paying attention to this region as it continues rotating into Earth view to be sure. Now, switching to the west limb of the sun, watch this gorgeous filament erupt. Look at this gorgeous ring of fire here. This is on the sun's far side, not Earth directed, but then it triggers region 3901 to fire. Pow! Right there, it fires what is a small solar flare with an R1 radio blackout. Not a big deal, but what is a big deal is the blast wave from this event. Look how much it encircles this part of the sun. This does mean that this solar storm that it launched is Earth directed. The sad thing is that when we go to coronagraphs to take a look at it, well, we can see that first little loop. Whoop, let me back up just a smidge. You can see that first loop come out. That's from that loop of fire, that beautiful ring of fire from the far side eruption that went to the west of Earth. But then as we advance just a little bit, ouch! Look at that. We missed most of the halo, and those missing frames make it very difficult to do prediction modeling. So we're going to have a bigger margin of error when we talk about the models that will be coming up in a moment. So that's not such great news. But outside of that, we are also watching region 3905 and 06. We've got a little burning filament in this region here that looks like it could be unstable. We're also keeping a close tab on this filament as well. And we do have a couple coronal holes, especially this one right here, which might give us a little bit of fast solar wind here at the end of the week. But we also are watching the east limb very closely because there are a few, as you can see, a few wisps of fire coming off of there. So we do have some new regions that are going to be rotating into Earth view, and that's going to keep our solar flux up. That's going to keep our big radio blackout risk up, and it's going to give us more chances for solar storms here in the next week. And now, as we switch to our far-sighted sun, I'm back to showing stereo A imagery because we had an amazing far side eruption that I want you to be able to see. Now, although stereo can't see everything on the sun's far side, you can see here's Earth, here's the sun, and here's stereo A looking at the sun just a little bit from the side. It did get a chance to see region 3889 after it left the Earth-facing disk. Now, back late on the 21st, region 3889 fires off a very large X-class flare. You can see it, boom, right there, and it launches a huge solar storm. In fact, it also launches a radiation storm. You can actually see some of the blizzard in the EUVI data here. But what made it so remarkable is that back here at Earth, we did get hit by that radiation storm, and it wasn't that it had huge fluxes. It wasn't a super intense radiation storm, but it did have some of the highest energies of a radiation storm that we've seen possibly since the Halloween events. This little yellow line that you see right here, this line is 0.5 giga electron volt. This is like cosmic ray energies. So this particular event is going to be one that's going to be studied for quite some time into the future. Sadly, we were not able to pass through this in situ to actually get an idea of how big the solar storm was. But we are watching region 3889 very closely as it rotates through the sun's far side, because we can see even here on the 23rd, it fires, boom, right there, yet another solar storm. So it's a very active region on the sun's far side. It is likely going to continue to be a producer as it rotates back into Earth view. So taking a closer look at that region and taking a closer look at our simulated far-sighted sun using HMI and AIA data from about 2 weeks ago, we get an idea of what is in store for us. And matter of fact, as we take a look at our JSOC helioseismology far-sighted viewer, you can see the gold is the far side of the sun. And as we expected, those regions are, you can see region 3879 as well as 3883, 3886, and of course region 3889. These are still very well formed on the sun's far side. They are going to be rotating back into Earth view here over this next week. So aurora photographers, hey, there's going to be more solar storms very likely coming around in the next couple weeks. Amateur radio operators, expect that solar flux to stay pretty high, and actually expect the risk for big radio blackouts to rise as we move into next week, because these big flare players look like they're going to keep us quite busy. Now, returning to that Earth-directed solar storm, we switch to our solar storm prediction model, ENLIL. Now, this is NOAA's version of the model. Top panel's density, bottom panel's velocity. You're looking down at the sun from the North Pole with Earth being off to the right. And as we set this solar storm model in motion, you will see this solar storm coming out to the, basically to the south of Earth and to the east of Earth. And it looks like it's just going to be kind of a glancing blow at Earth, with impact being late on the 28th, kind of into the 29th. Now, there's also a solar storm that has been launched after that. It came from region 3905 and 06. You couldn't really see it on the disk very well, but we did get a little bit of it in coronagraphs. So as we switch to our solar storm prediction model from NASA, you're still looking down at the sun from the North Pole with Earth being off to the right. As I set this solar storm model in motion, we're actually showing two solar storms. First, the one that we expected from NOAA that is going to come and hit us on the 28th, but then also a smaller one that was launched kind of on its heels from region 3905 and 06. You could see that second storm right behind it. So this is the first one that hits us. NOAA's expecting a later hit than NASA. NASA's expecting us to be hit right about noon on the 28th. But then as I put it further in motion, and you can watch the second storm coming by, this one isn't necessarily going to hit Earth, but if we switch to our impact footprint, you can actually see it's going to be a reasonably close impact, but mainly to the east of Earth. And this will be sometime late on the 29th. So aurora photographers, get ready anytime from about midday on the 28th, clear through possibly the 30th. You might even get some decent aurora clear down to mid-latitudes. Switching to our moon, we are now passing through the third quarter phase on our way to a new moon, with the new moon being on the 2nd. So you night sky watchers, if you want to catch some dim objects in the sky, like, I don't know, maybe some holiday aurora, well, now is your perfect chance. Switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are anticipating the hit from those solar storms that are on their way to Earth. At high latitudes, NOAA's expecting major storm conditions with up to about a 70% chance of possibly a severe storm. So aurora photographers, if you're at high latitudes, you definitely could get a show. Expect things to begin to calm down around the 30th, but then we are also expecting some fast solar winds. So early in the week, in early December, we could get yet more chances for aurora. Now, mid-latitudes, we're not expecting quite such a storm. On about the 29th, we're expecting to hit minor storm conditions, but we do have up to about a 20% chance of a major storm even at mid-latitudes. So aurora photographers, you definitely could get a show over this holiday weekend and enjoy. Be sure to keep your batteries charged and stay on your toes. Now, switching to our solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week, we are still sitting well into the 200s for solar flux. This is because we have a lot of big flare players in Earth view right now. We are also hitting moderate noise on the dayside radio bands, and NOAA is giving us about a 65% chance of M-class flares at the R1, R2 level radio blackout over the next few days. That might actually rise to about 70 or even 75% chance as these new regions rotate into Earth view and we get a better look at them. We also have about a 20% chance of X-class flares at an R3 level radio blackout. So you amateur radio operators and emergency responders, expect the dayside and radio bands to be a bit noisy and expect the risk for radio blackouts to continue to climb over this coming week. Switching to our solar radiation storm and polar aviation outlook over the coming week, everything is in the green this week when it comes to radiation storms. We are sitting at the D1 normal range. This is at flight level 360 for you aviators. It is also the S0 quiet range for everyone else. Right now, NOAA's giving us about a 10% chance of a radiation storm at an S1 to S2 level, and that's because most of the big flare players are still sitting about on the east limb or on the eastern side of the sun. But that risk should rise as we go through the end of the week because some of these regions are going to be rotating to the sun's west limb. So expect us to get to maybe 15 or 20% chance for a radiation storm, which means you frequent flyers, make sure you take a look at the ICAO advisories because things could change quite quickly. So the space weather this week is picking up quite a bit. We have those Earth-directed solar storms that should be hitting us right around the holidays. If you are an aurora photographer at high latitudes, you could definitely get a show starting about midday on the 28th and possibly having it last until about the 30th before things begin to calm down. Aurora photographers at mid-latitudes, well, your window of opportunity is a little bit shorter, but you still should be able to get some decent aurora over the holiday. So keep your batteries charged and your camera at the ready. And now amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, the news isn't so good for you. We do have the noise creeping up on those dayside radio bands, and that's because we have those new regions rotating into Earth view from the sun's far side. They are big flare producers, so that means the risk for big radio blackouts is going to creep up over this week and next. So you're going to have to just hunker down and try to get through it. And now you GPS users, well, we do have those solar storms that are going to cause some issues for you on the Earth's night side with Aurora, and we do have the risk for radio blackouts also creeping up. So if you're anywhere near Aurora or you're near the dawn dust terminators, definitely stay vigilant because your GPS reception might be a little bit off, but outside of that, you should be pretty much in the clear. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.